Article 21, it says that no person shall be deprived of life and personal liberty except in accordance with procedure established by law. Now, this article uses two expressions, that personal liberty and life. Now, we have seen in Article 19 there are various freedoms: freedom to free speech and expression, freedom to move freely, freedom to reside anywhere according to your choice, freedom to associate, freedom to carry out any business, trade, profession. These are all in fact part and parcel of liberties, personal liberties. However, what is not expressly provided by Article 19 is covered by the concept of personal liberty, which is given in Article 21. This is called the sweeping article. It includes what is left by other articles. Therefore, the personal liberty cannot be taken away by the state, that is the instrumentality of the state, department of the state, or any agency of the state, except in accordance with the procedure established by law. Which means, in order to regulate the human conduct, in order to curtail the personal liberty, the state must have the law in place. It must provide the procedure. In the case of A.K. Gopalan versus State of Tamil Nadu, that was in the 1950, the Supreme Court of India had an occasion to define what is the meaning of this procedure established by law. Court interpreted the Article 21 saying that once there is a law and once that law provides procedure, it is sufficient, it is enough. And this was so negative kind of interpretation of Article 21 that this continued until we came in the era where Supreme Court, in the case of Maneka Gandhi, had again an occasion to review, to reconsider the meaning and import and export of this, personal liberty. In the case of Maneka Gandhi, her passport was impounded by the passport authorities and she was not afforded any opportunity of being heard, and the case came to Supreme Court. So, passport authority and the government argued that there is a provision in the Passport Act which empowers us to impound the passport without giving any such opportunity to the person whose passport is impounded. On the other hand, the petitioner pointed out that it is a fundamental right to move freely anywhere, including going to abroad. And when this fundamental right of moving freely, that is part and parcel of personal liberty, is being taken away, then there must be a procedure, and that can be done only in accordance with the procedure established by law. And this procedure must be just, fair and reasonable. If the procedure doesn't give the opportunity of being heard, there is very violative of the principles of natural justice, then such procedure is unfair, unreasonable and arbitrary. Therefore, Supreme Court now reviewed and reversed its own judgment of A.K. Gopalan and held that it is not enough that there is a law and it provides procedure. Supreme Court said that such law must be fair, such procedure must be fair, reasonable and fair, non-arbitrary, when it is overreaching, when it is destroying or abrogating the fundamental right or personal liberty of anybody. After the case of the Maneka Gandhi, the fundamental right jurisprudence started to gain its significance, and the various rights have been now declared to be part and parcel of personal liberty and life. For example, let me tell you, right to have clean water, right to have pollution free air, right to have free medical aid, right to have speedy justice, right to have free and fair investigation. These are all rights which have found shelter into Article 21, and they are now part and parcel of Article 21. Therefore, right to clean environment is a fundamental right under Article 21. Similarly, right to free education was also found to be a fundamental right within the meaning of Article 21, though of late we have seen that there is a special addition into Article 21A, capital A, and that expressly provides right to free education to all children up to the age of 14. But even before that article, our Supreme Court of India held that right to free education was also fundamental right within the meaning of Article 21, because life cannot be enjoyed unless the life is with education. So education became the part and parcel of Article 21. Supreme Court says the word life as used in Article 21 is not just like animal life. It means not only the life but everything that goes along life and that makes the life itself worth living. So therefore whatever is required, whatever is necessary to make the life worth living is also part and parcel of Article 21. We have seen the environment in India is protected only because of this dimension, this dynamic approach by judiciary interpreting Article 21 in such a wider way. Today whatever environment is left in India is only because of the interpretation of Article 21 and the particularly of life in such a way. And this article 21 is almost now touchstone of every law, every state policy, every policy decision of the government. Almost, and in Maneka Gandhi, Supreme Court has interpreted Article 14 and Article 21 in a way where now Article 14 and Article 21 have become part and parcel of each other. Now the law is that if some policy decision or some action of the government or the state is found to be violative of Article 14, then it is deemed that it also violates Article 21. Similarly, if any action of the government or the state is found violative of Article 21, it is deemed that it is also violative of Article 14. Therefore, what violates Article 14 also violates Article 21. Similarly, what violates Article 21 also violates Article 14. So this is the new dimension that Supreme Court has put on Article 14 and Article 21. Now thereafter, dear friends, let me share you my own example, my own experience, which I personally fought, and that was on the basis of Article 21. I carried out a research that from 1993 we have witnessed several bomb blasting in India, and I carried the research to find that how many persons have died during the bomb attacks, the terror attacks in India. I found that the terrorism was going on, and almost on regular interval the attacks were taking place, and there was no legal mechanism where the citizens who lost the life or who got injured and became disabled for the entire life are entitled to be compensated from the government. Therefore, after carrying out this research, I filed a PIL, that is public interest litigation, in Bombay High Court, and I made a prayer that the court should be pleased to declare that Article 21 not only provides right to life, but this very right to life includes right to live a protected life, right to live a secured life, and if the government fails to protect that life, then the citizen is entitled to be compensated by the government. To that effect, I filed a PIL in the Bombay High Court. I gave an example that a person who is walking on the road is meeting with an accident, say for example accident of any vehicle, and he dies or he gets injured, then there is a law which provides mechanism, the remedy which compensates him. There is a Motor Vehicle Act under which there is a Motor Vehicle Tribunal. If the person loses his life, then his legal heirs can approach the court, that is tribunal, and claim a fair and just compensation, where the tribunal considers what was the age of the person who died in the accident and what was the life what was the, there is a formula, the normal expectancy of life, that is taken into account, and how many people are depending upon him. After taking into consideration all these factors, the court, the tribunal arrives at fair and just amount of compensation, and that is given to the legal heirs. I told the court that if the same person who is instead of dying in an accident dies in an attack, that is terror attack, where is the remedy? Where should the legal heir go? So court found it very serious issue, and court issued notices to the government of India and the state government, and High Court called upon them to show whether there is any such policy, whether there is any such law. Then it came to be found that the Maharashtra government was having some policy of giving only 1 lakh rupees to the person who died in such terror attack, and that was called madat, that was called help. And similarly, there was a policy of the central government of paying 3 lakh rupees as ex gratia amount of help, not compensation, because compensation means there is a liability, there is legal right of being compensated, and there is legal duty of compensating. So I told the court that it is the duty of the government to protect the life because of Article 21, and when repeatedly government has been failing to protect the life, where is the duty? Where is the duty of paying compensation? Because there is no policy. And accordingly, the High Court has given a very landmark judgment in that matter, and that order is available in the net and on High Court website also. That was civil public interest litigation, and the PIL 62 of 14, and the order is dated I think 14th or 13th August of 14. And because of that order, the central government had to issue new policy, and central government had to enhance the amount from 3 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees, and that too as a compensation, not as a ex gratia amount, so that it is a right of citizen. Similarly, state government also had to enhance the amount from 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees as a compensation, not as a help. So now, and I also ensured that the amount of compensation, 5 lakh rupees from the central government as well as 5 lakh rupees from the state government, must be from the date when original policy came into place. So because of this, the various persons who already lost the life in earlier attacks also got compensated, and this is one such example how Article 21 is dynamic. And today, let me tell you, in Maharashtra, during that very PIL, I also pointed out that when normal citizen is murdered, or for example a woman is subjected to heinous crime like rape, then she is deprived of the fundamental right to life, and that is because of the inability of the government machinery to prevent the crime. In that matter, the person who committed the crime should be prosecuted, but apart from that, the state government itself should be held responsible, because it failed to protect the human life, it failed to prevent the crime, it failed to maintain the law and order situation in society, which resulted into the heinous crime like rape and murder. Therefore, in that matter, as a byproduct, the state government had to immediately enact a policy, and now we have a policy in the state of Maharashtra that in every such offence of murder or rape, the government is bound to pay compensation. In case of rape, amount around 3 to 3.5 lakh rupees is given to the victim, regardless. This is regardless whether the accused is brought to justice, whether he is prosecuted, whether he is found. That is another issue. The moment somebody is subjected to such a crime, then the legal heir or the victim is entitled to get the compensation, that too from the government itself. Now the accused, the person who committed the crime, may be subjected to the normal procedure, that is prosecution, jail, etc. That will go on, that will take its own time, but immediately after the crime, the government is duty bound to provide the compensation to the victim. So this is the jurisprudence of compensation, which is day by day progressing, and this jurisprudence of compensation has emerged from Article 21. Let me tell you the police department is one such department which is largely found to be violating personal liberty and life of the citizens because of the police power. Article 21 or any other article in Constitution of India doesn't expressly deal with providing the compensation. It doesn't say that the government is bound to pay the compensation. However, the Supreme Court of India in various cases, including the famous case of one Rudal Shah versus the state of Bihar, where a person who was kept in jail 14 years after he got acquitted. That means he was detained in jail 14 years and that too illegally, without any authority of law. He was acquitted by the court, but even thereafter he came to be put in jail for 14 years. And he became mad. He lost his senses. Somebody wrote a letter from the jail that so and so person is languishing in the jail for such a long time. Then matter came to be exposed. And then in that case, Supreme Court evolved the concept of compensation. This is the first case of 1983. This case was decided in the year 1983, and the compensatory jurisprudence started. In that matter, Supreme Court said that the victim of illegal detention, that is Rudal Shah, must be given compensation, and he was also given liberty to file a civil suit in the civil court to claim the compensation apart from what Supreme Court has given under its writ jurisdiction. Thereafter, this compensatory jurisprudence started getting its own impact in various cases, and in DK Basu case, Supreme Court said that police must follow some guidelines, some principles while arresting somebody. They must inform him what are the grounds of arrest. They must inform the friend or the relatives of the person who is being arrested, and the arrest must be reasonable and fair, because just because somebody is named as accused, he should not be arrested, and while arresting he should not be handcuffed and he should not be paraded, because this is against the human dignity, individual dignity. And if these principles are violated, then the state government must be liable to pay compensation. And this is how the compensatory jurisprudence is almost progressing every day. Recently, because arrest means deprivation of personal liberty. The moment you are arrested, you don't have the liberty. You are kept in custody. So you don't have the liberty guaranteed by the Constitution of India. Article 21 is such an article which has given even right to be compensated. Now, right to be compensated against illegal arrest, illegal detention is also fundamental right because of Article 21.